Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, a weekly show about the entrepreneurial journey and making it big in any industry. We're your hosts, Joe White and Kane Daniel. Welcome to the $1 Billion Podcast, where we explore the stories, strategies, and tools that drive success. With over 30 years of senior experience in the mortgage industry, Joe Pinheiro has been a driving force in shaping its future. From serving 22 years as VP and later CEO of Mortgage Alliance to his current role as Executive VP of Network Development with the LCG since 2021, Joe brings expert insights and proven strategies for success. So let's hear from a true industry leader. Joe, it's great to have you with us.
Hello, Joe and Kane. This is a pretty special time. So thanks so much for having me.
Our pleasure. Yeah. So maybe give us some background on maybe how you got into the industry, because you're having I was going to say you've had, but you're having a very illustrious career. Okay. And what got you into this field?
Well, I think like most people, right? Like nobody goes to college. I went to college, took accounting and so forth. And you come out and you find out, okay, I like accounting, I like numbers, but I like real estate, I like mortgages, I like that stuff better. And, there's only so much money, I guess, you can make, a junior position in accounting, right? So then I just basically met up with somebody in like my little town of, lived in Cambridge most of my life, in Kitchener, a gentleman who was starting up a brokerage company. And I just kind of hung out with them and find, okay, what does this brokerage company, what does this look like? Now, you got to remember, like back when I started doing brokering, because it was 30 years ago, there was obviously no technology, no electronic. Like you would actually have to take like your files underneath your arm and walk down to the local beneficial, AFCO. There was no TD in the broker space. We were dealing with lenders that very few of your listeners would even know. Bayshore Trust, Shoppers Trust. Yeah. Okay, I don't know if you remember those, Joe, but that goes back a long, long time. And again, this is before any technology. And this was like true brokering. This is really about, okay, I've got a client. Now I got to go knock on doors and find a lender and try to piece this together. And of course, there was a lot of privates, like I don't even know if we had deals that would be considered B. They're more like C deals, just trying to save people from losing their homes and so forth. So that's how it kind of started. And I really liked like mortgages and really liked real estate, bought a lot of property over the years. So my head was really into that space. And therefore, I just kind of like fell into the industry. And then in 1998, I got introduced to Michael Beckett, and we were just starting a Mortgage Alliance company. So this was a whole new, okay, now this is, now we're getting into the big league, so to speak. This was about the time that TD came into the market, and we started now dealing with Morty at the time, and the technologies were coming into play, like in the mid to late 90s. And then it just kind of, being part of Mortgage Alliance, it was, great watching that company grow. And then, I met you, Joe, and I met Michael Ellenswig, and then we started our illustrious career as instructors, and we did that for like 10 years. And obviously, you're still doing it, and congratulations on all your success around that. Thanks. So a lot of years at Seneca College, and again, we got to work a lot, Joe, and those were amazing years. Yeah, and then teaching new people how to get into the industry, and I love doing that. Like I still love teaching and instructing people whenever I get the chance.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that you've been so successful, right? And you're so well respected is because you give a lot. You've taught a lot of people. Like when you say, you were watching Mortgage Alliance grow. I mean, you deserve a lot of the credit for growing Mortgage Alliance. And you're a great personality in the industry. And I think a lot of people like hearing from you and like learning from you. And you've always been, in my opinion, very generous with your time and your opinions and your opinions. But you're very, very generous with your time, right?
I was just saying, you guys are having a little love fest.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But I was Joe's best man at his wedding. So we actually go back. We go back a lot of years, and again, those Seneca years were great. And you're absolutely right. Like teaching people, especially like young individuals who wanted to get into business, they're so excited, and it's easy to teach when you're teaching people that want to learn and are excited. Like they weren't there just because I need to take a course. Yeah, and that was you get a lot out of it, right? And and somebody once said, I don't remember who, I was like, if you want to know a subject well, like spend 10 years teaching it, right? Well, I spent 20 years teaching it. Yeah, the mortgage financing stuff, like I'm still a whiz on that, and I love it. Like the greatest pleasure I get is when I go to these conferences and so forth, and somebody will come up to me and say, I remember you taught me back at Seneca in 2004, and I still use that calculator, and you changed the way I look at mortgages. And, honestly, that's like the best, probably the best feeling I get is when people come up and approach me and say that, that's worth more than any other accolades you can get. The fact that you made a difference and somebody still remembers you from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. It's really, really special.
So, Joe, on that, just going back to when you started in and it's quite some time now. So you started as like brokering mortgages. How long were you doing that before you transitioned into the leadership side? And what was that like? Maybe for those coming in the industry, what can they expect? Like, what was the transition like? What were the pitfalls, or I guess, like, what made you make that decision?
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I think what ended up happening, like, first of all, I was doing mortgages, and I was really great at getting the customer first. So I was like a first-time home buyer specialist. So I was getting the customers first. I knew how to talk on the phone. I knew how to capture them. I knew how to write ads. Back in the day, it was just writing ads. There was no social media. I knew how to get referrals from people. Like, my business was built on referrals. And then I found that instead of getting deals from realtors, I was actually sending more deals from realtors than they were ever sending me. Hence, I thought, you know what, I'm going to get a real estate license. So I ended up getting a real estate license. Never actually drove people around to look at houses, but I would refer all these deals. So I knew the art was in capturing the client first, and whoever gets the client first wins. And I think and that was my deal. And getting referrals from everybody. Like, I've got, I remember teaching a program. It's like an hour-long program, how to get one referral from each client at least 80 to 90% of the time. And I kind of mastered that of like how to do that, and there is a formula to get a referral from each one of your clients 80 to 90% of the time. And maybe one day, Joe, will actually do that program.
Yeah. Maybe you can give us the Coles Notes version of that, or what was the Cliff Notes? Coles Notes is when I was a kid, and then I think it was replaced by Cliff Notes. Is that right? I never heard of Cliff Notes. Is that right, Kane? Cliff Notes?
I thought it was the opposite, but I mean, I've heard both, so I'm not sure which one came first.
And then, so I'll continue on with the story. And then, working with Mortgage Alliance, and I don't want to share too many stories about that, but I mean, in the early years with Mortgage Alliance, like, it was tough. Like, we were grinding it out as a company. Like, we didn't have a whole bunch of money, right? And I remember still doing some real estate and some stuff on the side, just in case this thing doesn't turn out, right? But then, like, once Mortgage Alliance got going, and then it was just about recruiting, hiring, transferring my skills to other people. And, again, I there's people in Cambridge. I remember one gentleman that, drove a FedEx truck making $45,000 a year. And a year later, he's making $200,000 a year, and I see this gentleman today, he still gives me a big hug, because of the help. Now, I don't take credit for that success. I was just there to help him get there faster. Right. And, with as less friction as possible. So, those are the days that really, I love. And, with Mortgage Alliance, it was one of those things that I used to teach my daughter as well, is if you want to be better than everybody else, just do a little bit more than everybody else is willing to do, and do it consistently. And that's how your head pops out. And that's how you get noticed. So I was at every single event. I was the first guy in. I was the last guy to leave. When Mike asked me to do something, I would do it twice as hard as what he would expect me to do. And I think if you just make a habit of doing that, you can't help but grow up quicker in the organization if you're just leaps and bounds. Because, when they had to pick, because I was a regional manager, when they had to pick a VP of sales, I left no doubt in Mike's mind, at the time, Michael Beckett, that there's only one guy I could pick. I can't pick anybody other than Joe for this position. Right? But that was conscious effort. In those first 5-6 years of Mortgage Alliance, I had to show that I was better than everybody else. And all I had to do was do a little bit more than everybody else is willing to do on a daily, consistent basis. And I think, like, that's a lesson, like, for everybody. The difference between, first and second place is 10 times better. It's that much better all the time. And I think that's one of the things I learned early on. And then I got into that, corporate side, which was great. It was a new experience for me.
I love that message of consistency and showing up. Yeah. We hear that a lot, but obviously that's a big part of it, just showing up and being consistent. And then doing a little bit more.
Yeah, have a bit of showing up. And the other thing too, and I hope I'm like not rambling on too much, so I'll give you guys a chance to ask questions and stuff. And I'll just leave at this point. I remember when my daughter got into the business, and we were sitting at Boston Pizza, me and my daughter, and my second wife. It wasn't her mother, but it's my second wife, Heather. And Heather said, you're lucky to be getting in the mortgage business. Just listen to what your dad says. You're going to be successful. And then Heather said something. She goes, I didn't see the first 5 years in this business your dad was in. I never saw your dad. I'm thinking, what are you talking about? I was home every night. I wasn't traveling at that time. She goes, your head was in a book for 5 years straight. I was a constant learner. I just read. And back then we didn't have nothing else other than to read. We didn't have Amazon. I would have to go to the store and buy the books. But I became fanatical when it came to reading, understanding business, understanding finance, understanding tax, understanding mortgages, understanding real estate, and of course, all the years teaching at Seneca. So those first 5 years were part of the most impactful as far as that kind of took me at a different level. Yeah, so I think that's a real lesson for like new people getting in the business. Any advice? Man, spend the first 5 years being buried in information and learn from everybody in any chance you get.
Was it always on like a goal of yours from the beginning to sort of go on the corporate side and be a leader in the business and in the industry, or was there a time where maybe you thought you'd be brokering kind of forever?
Well, it's interesting because I still say one day might get back to brokering, but I've been saying that for like 20 years. But I find in this role here, I'm just able to help more people and kind of spread the wings. And of course, learning from the corporate side, right? Like I'm not a university, business of commerce, educated individual, right? But it was just a new place to learn and to grow.
So what would you suggest if you've brought so many people into the industry. What would you suggest, or what do you suggest? What have you suggested to those people as they come into the industry to get them on the right footing to help them be successful?
Yeah, and you know what? And it's interesting because I've taught like over 20,000 students, right? And I've brought thousands of people into the business, and I'm still of the opinion when I sit in front of somebody, I have no idea whether they're going to be successful or not. Right. And very few, if anybody says, oh, this guy's going to be a killer, the people surprise you all day long, right? In a bad way. Right. So I think the most important thing is you got to be willing to learn. You got to be able to just change the way you think about things. Like your paradigms probably have to adjust and change. Right. And the biggest thing is how you interact with people. So if you're going to be reading books, everything is how you communicate with people. How do you interact with people? How do you make people feel special? Yeah, how do you make people feel engaged? How do you give that experience that they simply don't get someplace else? Right? And be a master at that. And words are powerful. The way you communicate with people is powerful. So become an expert in the communication. And the thing is, people deal with people for two reasons only, in my opinion. Okay. People deal with you because they like you first and foremost. If they don't like you, doesn't matter how smart you are, doesn't matter if you got the best 5-year rate, they don't care. People want to interact with people they like, and they have to trust you. Right. And trust is a big word that means a lot of stuff. Right. They got to like you. They got to respect you. So trust is part of the respect. Right. So you got to get them to like you and you got to get them to respect you before you even have any chance of them doing any business with you. Right. Yeah.
That's a fantastic point. The trust and respect, and the respect comes from competency. Right. You need to know what you're doing and be able to speak knowledgeably. So when somebody's coming in and they don't have that experience, and they're out there talking to a real estate agent, they want to, they're at a networking event. Right. How would you suggest that they deal with that?
Well, you know what? I think it's great. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying I'm new in the business and I'm learning this business, right? And sometimes, you have to go after people and realtors, as an example, that might be in the same demographic, same mindset. I'm relatively new as well, right? So it's not about getting business from them. It's about, as a person, speaking to the realtor or financial planner, but how is it that I can help you do better in your business? I'm here as an extension of your business. It's that old saying that, the hand that gives is the hand that receives, right? How can I help you? So I think when when you're brand new and you're talking to realtors and financial planners, don't go there with your hand out, give me a deal. I got the best 5-year rate. Here's my donut and rate sheet. No, tell me about your business. Tell me about your struggles. Tell me about, I want to understand how you work and see if there's something I can do to help your business grow and develop and move it faster. So I think it's so important. Don't go around saying you got the best 5-year rate, because guess what? You don't have it anyways. Right? Yeah. Everybody has the best 5-year rate, right? Go out there and build that relationship and give them experience. And, it's funny, when you talk to realtors, right? This is kind of a good strategy, right? I think we even talked about this years ago, Joe. If you're talking to a realtor, everybody's already dealing with somebody. Okay, almost, right? Have them, ask them what it is they like about that person. Mm-hmm. Okay, and understand. And they'll say all the great things. He gets deals done. He's been experienced. He's really great. Is all that stuff. And then ask him this one question: what is it that you wish they did better, or that you don't like about this person that you're dealing with? Okay. And you know what the answer is going to be 9 out of 10 times? He must be really, really busy. Sometimes it's hard to get a hold of. Sometimes I have to wait longer than I expected. So like, other than that, he's great. Okay.
Yeah.
Really what they're saying is that he doesn't provide me with the service and the experience that I would like. Other than that, he's great. Okay. So that creates like the wedge opportunity to go in and say, okay, this is how I work. Okay. And I did this for my daughters years ago, where she has like a 1-pager and says, this is how I work. That's actually how it's titled. Okay. You call me at this number, you get a return call in an hour, within an hour. You send me a text at this number, you get a response within 10 minutes. You send me an email at this number. Once you refer me a client, I'll email you as soon as I speak to that client, and I'll contact that client within 30 minutes. So it's very absolutely detailed and organized. This is how I work, right? And then what's going to happen now, one day when he's no longer happy with his mortgage broker and you're constantly communicating, they're going to remember you and go, okay, let me give you a try. But that service agreement, like most people can't even do what they say they're going to do, let alone do anymore.
Yeah.
So you always have to see their expectation that way.
You mentioned the wedge there. There's actually a technique called the wedge,
right?
And you're familiar with that, and it's very similar to exactly what you were saying, in that you talk to them about, okay, you're dealing with an incumbent. Who's the person you're currently dealing with? And how's your experience with them? And most people, because they're dealing with them, it's just like when you go out and buy a car, you're not going to slam the car. If somebody says, how do you like your car? You're going to say, I like my car. Right. I just spent $50,000 on it. I'm not going to call myself stupid by saying it's a terrible car.
Right.
And that's what most people do with their incumbents as well, right? They say, things are good. And then it's like, well, that's great to hear. I know about them. They're fantastic. Now, just to get a better understanding of how you work, when they send you a summary of the deals that they are doing with you and a status update at the end of every day, do you appreciate that, or is that something that's not really important to you? Well, they don't do that.
Right.
Oh, well, maybe they don't feel that it's that important. Maybe we'll get back to that in a little while. But that's right. It's trying to find out what's important for them and help them with their business. And it's like, we've talked about this before. When you start out, wouldn't it be amazing if a real estate agent came up to us when we were new in the industry and said, hey, Joe, and this works because we're both Joe. Hey, Joe, you're new in the mortgage industry. I've been around as a real estate agent. I'd love to, kind of take you under my wing and show you how to grow your business by us partnering. Wouldn't that be great? Nobody does that with us.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And that's a good point. Like, we're trying to find the partners. And one thing that I always use, once you start telling people, like, okay, like you don't get an update at the end of the day about all your deals. No. Okay. Then what you want to do is really, it's kind of like when you go to a doctor and the doctor says, it hurts over here. What does the doctor does? He presses on it. You know what I mean? Oh shit, it really, really hurts, right? Well, that's an opportunity to say things like, how does that make you sleep at night? Like, that must be terrible. You don't know what's going on with your clients. Make it a real pain point with them, right? And as soon as you make it a pain point, they go, yeah, like I need a solution for this pain point. Well, this is how I work. You know what I mean? But again, it always goes back to, like, people got to like you, right? And there's something that I do, and this is part of one of those things I have written down here from notes. And Gary speaks of this all the time. Making that emotional connection with people, right? You have to make that emotional connection. Facebook is a great place to make emotional connections, right? Mm-hmm. And this is a great thing, just not even for. Like, this is a great thing even for your clients, right? And if I can give you a quick example, Kane and Joe, my partner Lucy did a mortgage for a family who's got a 5-year-old daughter, and Lucy got to meet the daughter because they're in person, and the daughter's so excited because the new home they bought has a swimming pool, and the daughter's excited about the swimming pool, right? The clients were very rate sensitive, so Lucy got them the best rate, did the best she could. Okay. And then I would go home and I'll talk to Lucy and I'll say, okay, what emotional connections did you make today? Like, she hates it when I say that, because I'm saying, you're not working today unless you're working your database and made some emotional connections. I said,
she must love coming home.
What's that? I should have in the car for a while.
Some days she does. And I said, so you were thinking about, okay, well, you got this girl, they got the swimming pool. It's not closing for a couple of months. Go on Amazon, buy some pool toys for the child. Send it to them. Right? Of course, the mother and the father, they're over the moon. It costs $29. But that's a little emotional connection. So sometimes we spend thousands of dollars on marketing and advertising, but we don't spend $30,000 or $30 on making an emotional connection. So it's like every day you have to wake up and go, okay, how can I connect with people beyond what they expect from a mortgage broker, right? And stuff that matters. Don't send them a coffee mug with your picture and your name on it. There's no emotional connection to that. Find the stuff that makes emotional connections. And if you do that every single day, watch your business develop and grow and referrals, because people want to deal with people they like. And this family is not going to go to to RBC and save 5 basis points now.
Mm-hmm.
And all $30. How much does it cost to buy down a rate? Well, this costs you $30 to make that emotional connection, right?
I think that's a really
line and sincere.
That's a really important message, especially those that are coming in new, maybe looking to differentiate themselves, is to really create some personalization with impact and emotion. It's so simple and easy to do, but you have to be looking for it, right? You got to be thinking about those opportunities, have your antennas up, so to speak, to
find intentional. Yeah,
it has to be intentional.
And it's not that hard to do, because we're having conversations with people and they say, oh yeah, you got a nice Audi. Yeah, what kind of car? I've been a Ford Mustang fanatic all my life. Yeah. Online, Ford Mustang book.
There it is.
They might have had it already, but if it matters to them, then that's what matters to us, right?
You know what?
Just to add in, sorry, Joe, I just want to say one more thing before we get off of that I think the important piece of this, and we talked to a lot of our students coming through the course about this, is that, it's not enough to have a conversation like we're having now and go, oh, that's a great idea. Really incorporate this into the planning at the beginning to figure out what is actually unique about you. What are the pain points of your referral partner, so that you can come in and introduce those wedge strategies. What is your strategy going to be for, introducing those delightful wow moments, and how are you going to do it technically? Like having all that as part of your plan and part of your process and part of your checklist from the beginning is just super important. So it's not enough just to say it. I think you have to really live it in your planning.
You have to do it, and you have to have like a whiteboard that's in your office, and it says emotional connections, database. This is the stuff I have to do every day, because consistency in that stuff is what really matters, right? And that's how you get the business of referrals. And again, I'm getting to the how to get one referral from each person type of stuff. That's a different course, a different time.
Yeah, but it is important to make those emotional connections. And I remember early on in my career, I used to drive out to people's homes. And when I would go up to their door, one thing that a mentor had taught me is that you leave everything behind you. When you knock on the door, you ring the doorbell, everything is gone. Whether you're having a bad day, your spouse is mad at you, your kids hate you, you don't know if you have enough gas to get home, everything is done and you're talking to the client. One of the things that I didn't do well when I first started was trying to make any type of connection. My thought was, well, you know what? I just want to go in, take an application as quickly as possible and get out of there. I mean, this is all, I just need that information. And this is that unfortunate part of the process where I have to talk to somebody to get the information. Right. It'd be perfect if I could just, get the information and not have to deal with anybody. So I go in and then try and get right down to business. And I was an abject failure doing that. Yeah. And I remember the first time it really hit home was I went into this guy's home, a senior, and he said, do you want to take a look around the house? And I always thought, I'm not the appraiser. Why do I want to look around your house? Bad attitude, right?
Yeah.
And then, so this time I thought, well, saying yes can't be any worse than what I've been doing. So yeah, sure. We went for a walk around the house. He took me down to the basement, and he had this huge train set there. Oh, wow. And we spent about 20 minutes talking about the train set, and it was a passion of his. And I thought it was fascinating. And then it started dawning on me, these aren't just numbers or pieces of paper. These are people with experiences and lives. And you know what? After that, it was always when I had an opportunity to hear about somebody's life that I'd take it. And if they didn't tell me, I'd start asking. And those connections, like you were mentioning, changed everything for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And again, like we're all people, right? Like I want to share my story. The people want to share their story too, right? Allow people to talk. Allow people to share their story. I remember I was talking to somebody who, like he was a pigeon fanatic and did, just
like Mike Tyson.
Yeah, what's that?
Like Mike Tyson.
Yeah,
was he on his roof clapping?
And it's kind of like he could talk for friggin' hours about pigeons, right? And I was like, I couldn't give a damn about a pigeon. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking, I hear, whatever. But it's like allow people to talk. And again, if they, they'll like you if you let them talk. Let people talk. Build those connections.
What's your vision for the future, Joe? I mean, you've been around for, I think we covered that in the first section, and I'm getting older, so I don't remember how many years, but forever. And you've seen a lot of changes in the industry, and a lot of things staying the same. Where do you think things are going to head?
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about the future. And like I think the points that you made, things have evolved, things have changed, right? But a lot of things have really stayed the same in the grand scheme of things. And what's stayed the same is really the need that Canadians really do need us and do really value what it is we bring to the marketplace. I think the politicians, the governments, they acknowledge obviously the value that our industry brings to the Canadian economy and how we assist Canadians in their home ownership aspirations and managing their debt. Technology has made things a lot easier for us to interact with both our lenders and our consumers and clients, potential clients. And I think we're going to see like more and more enhancements, involvements in that, like speeding up the process, creating more efficiencies in the way we do business. I think that's been a focus the last 10 years, obviously. And I think we're going to see more of that. But as far as consumer behavior is concerned, I think everybody, years ago, we were always afraid that, we're going to have somebody come in and everybody's going to be able to do their mortgage themselves. Right. And we've been hearing that forever. And, I got to get out of the business because, some little square app on my iPhone is now going to do the mortgage for me. I think we've seen that just isn't the case. It's not the case in Canada. It's definitely not the case in the US and other parts of the world. And I think because like when you're dealing with like millennium, I can't even say that. Was that millenniums? No, help me out. Millennium. For some reason, I can never get that out of my mouth properly. and my daughter, my youngest daughter, she's a paramedic in Halifax, right? And I asked her about like, what are her views about mortgages and banking and all that kind of stuff, right? And, and she's, I'm sure, speaks for that demographic. It's probably perfect. She's just one of those people. The first thing she says is like, I don't trust banks. I know I need them, but I don't really trust what they say. I don't really believe them. I don't believe if you have an executive on an RBC commercial that I really believe that guy. Okay, so I say, so who do you believe? Well, and it got down to, it's like social proof. I believe what my friends say. Mm-hmm. I believe what other stories other people share, right? So I think the consumer behavior is like, and as mortgage professionals, we have to play in that place of social proof. Okay,
yeah,
because that's where you
absolutely.
Really trust is when somebody else says. So I think we have to talk to the consumers in the way that consumers want to be communicated to, right? And they love that social proof, which I think is a big part of how our business has developed. It's not about look how great I am. It's what did this person say about me?
Well, that's why on Amazon they hit that home run years ago when they start putting reviews up, right? And how many stars do you have? They latched onto that social proof. If 4.8 out of 5 stars and 500 people rated this as a good product, it's probably a good product. I don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah. And like late adapters, like I'm a late adapter when it comes to like actually checking Google's reviews. I never did that like 3 years ago, but now it's like you go to the garage, you kind of check, and go to a restaurant, you kind of check, right? So I think that whole aspect is going to be so important. And I think other people, and other technology companies are ready to get, like, you think of the Uber, the Uber rides and so forth, mm-hmm. right? Uber is more of a technology company than it is a ride company.
Yeah.
So they take it, and good for them to kind of clean up an old industry that was not very nice as far as the taxi industry, right, in my opinion. But the experience is terrible in a taxi. And I actually had this, I was at a restaurant in Vancouver, Edmonton, 2-3 weeks ago, and my Uber app was doing all kinds of wacky stuff, right? And I'm not the most technical guy. I couldn't figure it out. So I asked the bartender, I said, like, is there a taxi? She goes, here's the number for the taxi. Okay. So you call the taxi, and then you're at the door, and you're like, when's he coming? I have no idea.
Yeah.
Right? Where consumers, what makes Uber so special is I can see the guy coming. He's 2 minutes away. He's 300. Like that whole experience is what people are attracted to, right? And it was like a weird feeling. Like I'm actually waiting for a taxi, and it's kind of cold out here. Should I wait inside? Should I go outside? Is he going to see me? Is he coming? You have no friggin' idea, right? And then he, drops me off at the hotel. I give him a credit card. He's got to break out a machine, and then he can't remember the code to get into the machine. So he's got to go through get the book. I'm thinking, like, and this is in the same world that you have an Uber driver. Like, no wonder Uber are kicking their ass, right? With all due respect. So I think it's the same thing in our business. Our consumers want to be part of the process. They want to be engaged in the process. They want to participate and understand what's going on at all times, because that's what they get. Was it Amazon, Uber, with everything else? They just don't want to do it by themselves.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and the banks have come out with some technology as well, but it doesn't change the fact that people like to sit in front of someone else and get their opinion. It's that social proof. If I'm talking to you, I want to know, is this really the right thing for me? I mean, maybe I can get automatically approved online someplace, but taking a step back, is this the right thing that I should be applying for to begin with? And that's I think where some miss the boat on the technology, is that there does need to be that intervention by an individual. And you know what? Just jumping back to about the banks, it's fascinating to me that so many people go to their banks first. 70% or thereabouts that they have the market share, because they feel that there's some type of loyalty or some benefit to dealing with them. And I remember yesterday I saw on CP24 they were showing National Bank just said it had made over $900 million in profit, and RBC had $3.9 billion in profit for the quarter. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, people trust their banks, and who's paying for this profit? It's not. It's consumers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I love the Canadian banks, right? I own the shares of three of them. Right? I just pick the three
because they give good returns.
Yeah, right? And it's almost like they're regulated and legislated to make money. Like these suckers are open to make money, and they do a lot of things in mortgages. But I think what the banks do really good, do exceptionally well, obviously. And I think this is what brokers have to understand, more and more important now, right? I've seen a lot of brokers the last year that their business went down, 50, 40, 60%, right? But I've also seen a lot of brokers last year where their business went up. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the difference here, right? And I think, when you look at the difference, the ones whose business were down, they were tied to the transaction. They were tied to the real estate world. Real estate takes a dive, their business goes slow. The other ones that were continuously growing, they were dealing in their databases, in the consumer experience, in the relationship they have with the consumer. And all they did was foster that relationship for 2 or 3 years or longer. So this way, when the market goes down, there's a lot of activity that needs to be happening with the refinances. And some people were in trouble. Yeah. They needed a second mortgage to pay Revenue Canada, and they needed this. But because they focused on the relationship, not so much the real estate transaction, they continued on their business.
Yeah, when you're tied to your customer, you get all of it. When you're tied to a real estate transaction, you get those ups and downs, and you're riding the market. But when you're tied to your customer, you get the purchases, the refinances, the investment properties, everything.
Yeah, and the amount of renewals are coming up in the next year, and a lot of people, real estate prices are still okay. I mean, there's been some settling in certain markets. The debt load's gone through the roof. I saw something yesterday. Canada per capita has the highest debt in relationship to GDP anywhere in the world now, right? Yeah. So a lot of debt. There's a lot of people hurting, and with the DLC group here, we created Gold Rush, which is where we're contacting all these people, and we see people using programs like Gold Rush to really amp their business up, because I'm reaching back to my customers. I'm engaging them. So I think great mortgage brokers are going to, be excellent people when it comes to mining their database, engaging their consumers, those emotional connections, getting their referrals. And if you do that, the business, I think, is going to be phenomenal over the next few years. I think it's going to be it's going to change the way people do business, and it rightly should.
Now, you just mentioned Gold Rush and technology, using a good CRM and using technology that connects you with your database. Yeah. What do you think are the most important things, or what advice might you have for somebody who's looking at their database? I know, we've always used to say, how many people do you need to make a database? And it's one. Right. Yeah. But so you have one, or you have 1,000, or you have 100. What's a good way to work that database to get some business coming in?
Okay. Well, I think the first thing is a lot of people have a lot of data, and everybody in our industry has great intentions. I'm going to do my database. First of all, your database is never going to be absolutely perfect. So a lot of people, I got to make it absolutely perfect before I send something. No, it's got to be. But it's got to be clean. So I think the first thing, clean up your database. There's some people that don't like you, and you don't like them. They had a bad experience. Don't send them anything. Take them off your list. It's okay. right? But just clean up these databases and start reaching out to people. If you haven't talked to somebody in like a year, because interest rates are going up and you didn't want to call them because they're going to give you shit because you put them in a bad mortgage. Okay, now's the time to call and share good news. Hey, I'm just reaching out. Sorry, I should have called you back a year ago. How are things going? Hopefully you have something to remember. How are the kids? I know one plays soccer. Make that connection again. Look, I'm going to do a better job of staying in contact with you. I just want to reach out. Okay, and you make enough of those phone calls, there's going to be someone that says, man, Joe, thanks a lot for calling. I was just thinking about you. Or my son now wants to.
You're going to find those ones that actually like you.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, but you have to start connecting with all those people. And especially now, maybe things are a little slower, like come December, January, man, just start connecting, right? Put them in a system like our Gold Rush system, and let the system just start communicating to them. All these wonderful touch points about, renewals, anniversaries, birthdays, and even birthday message. It's like, happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. Not happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. Do you need a mortgage? No. You don't need a mortgage, right? Make those connections with everybody again. Put yourself out as being the professional and the person that makes it make it easier for them to do business with you than anybody else. Make it easier that you're the first phone call. And you will get those calls. And surprisingly, you're going to get more than what you thought of. And the thing is, Canadians, they're not dumb, right? But they're ignorant about mortgage matters. They want somebody that they can feel comfortable reaching out to. Make sure you're that person, because if you're not that person, they're going to be somebody else, right? So I think that's important. And the other thing, and Joe, you and me, we've been educators and stuff. Learn your craft, learn your business, learn stuff inside out about your business. And it amazes me how people been doing this for 10 years. And, they still can't really tell the difference between an adjustable rate mortgage and a variable rate mortgage, and what client profile does these products fit.
Yeah.
And they don't understand about the prepayment penalties from a monoline lender compared to a bank lender. Know your craft, okay? Because people want to deal with people that they like, that they respect. But boy, you better be competent. You could be the nicest sweetheart guy in the world, and they love you. But if you don't know what the heck you're doing or talking about, you're in trouble. And the other key, if I can, Joe, I know I go on. It's like the old days.
Hey, this is great.
Is that when you're interacting with somebody when it comes to their mortgage, right? Understanding their finance. I always say that, you got to get them to say wow at one point. Like, wow, I didn't know this was possible. Wow, I didn't know you could do this with your mortgage. Wow, I don't know if you prepaid your mortgage by $500 a month, you'd save 8 years and $32,000 in interest.
Yeah.
Right? You have to add value to that transaction. A lot of people are still, and I see it on, these posts. I love mortgage brokering and all this kind of stuff. And, where I'm getting beat by the bank. Okay. And it's because you're not adding enough value in the transaction, in the relationship. So it becomes a question of rate. So you commoditize yourself in the business. Now they're chasing rate. But you have to get good. And that's the kind of stuff. I wish, I had an opportunity to do more of that stuff like we did back in the old Seneca days when we got on the board.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Well, you know what? When it comes down to the math, when it comes down to the math, right? It's amazing to be able to pull out a calculator and say, now here's your payment. Do you think you could afford an extra 15 or 20 bucks a payment? Because this is something that I can show you. We can work out these numbers. This is how much we can save you over the life of your mortgage just by increasing your payment a little bit like that. And that's even change your payment. It's amazing how people are paying biweekly. Well, there's biweekly accelerate. Like this is the first 2 hours in mortgage financing stuff. Yeah, and then you get into the more and I remember having a client. If I can share a story, my daughter had a client years ago. Had a $110,000 mortgage and $13,000 in Canadian Tire MasterCard. Right. And I told Emily, okay, this guy's got to roll this $13,000 in. No, he didn't want to increase his mortgage, right? Until I sat with him and I told him that the interest he pays on his mortgage at that time, I still remember these numbers. The interest he paid on his $111,000 mortgage was $2,652. The amount of interest he paid on this $13,000 Amex or MasterCard that never reduced the balance, the interest he paid on that was $3,412. I told him, you're paying almost $1,000 more interest on that $13,000 loan than you are on this. Okay. So that was a wow moment for him. Like, wow. Yeah. Really? I said, you don't believe me? Get your statement out. Let's look at it. Then say, turn the back page. This is how it's calculated. So I said, if you're comfortable making that payment and comfortable making a mortgage payment, put those two payments together. We'll keep the payment together. I just reduced your mortgage from 17 years down to 9. And you save this much in interest. He's like, okay, wow. Brilliant. Yeah.
Nobody explained it to me like that. Okay? And the next thing is you say, okay, I'm sure people just like you in your situation, that you'd like to have me introduce them to, so I can show them maybe there's something better we can do with their finances. Okay. But like, if we don't start adding value to the relationship, then we commoditize their business. And like, add value and, give them something that makes them go, wow.
Yeah, and you personalize it, right? You have these personal conversations. That's something that I think is lacking. I've dealt with the bank over the years and gotten mortgages through branches, and there's that lack of personal connection in my mind, right? I don't know if it's going to be the same rep that I'm dealing with next time I go in.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm one of many appointments they have during the day, and they only have a few products to offer me, and that's always, in my mind, that's always been the challenge, trying to convey that message to consumers, that you're going into a store that only carries its brand of products, compared to going into a Walmart that carries everybody's brands of products.
Right.
And then you can compare the two. But you know what?
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and I think a lot of the reason is that they think a mortgage is a mortgage is a mortgage. It's just like, go get me the cheapest price one, right?
Yeah.
And that is not how mortgages work. I mean, getting a mortgage at TD as opposed to, say, First National, 36 months from now, and you got to break the mortgage. Boy, you're not going to be happy that you got a 5 basis point discount at TD, because the basis point discount is going to cost you probably $10,000 more in interest costs to get out of that mortgage than the First National, right?
Yeah. See, that when you're talking to a client, that would be like, wow, really?
Yeah. And the way I always explain it to clients, so this is a good tidbit, and I learned this from somebody, is that, okay, with your RBC, with your TD mortgage or with the First National mortgage, you may be paying $7 more a payment. Okay. So first people, well, that's not much. Okay. And I'm doing a plug here for First National, which is fine. But they're great partners of ours. Well, that $7 extra a month is really the insurance premium that you pay that ensures you never have to pay a penalty like you would at TD Bank.
Right.
You know what I mean? So this means that if you need to get out of this mortgage, and people do it at 36 months, do the calculation. Okay, it's going to cost you about this. If you're going to get out of TD, it's going to be this. So the $7 a month is insurance to ensure you never have to pay $26,000 in penalties.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, absolutely.
And start understanding it. But that's the value you have. Things like that. I mean, we could spend hours and hours going over that.
Yeah.
That type of stuff. But that's the value that in the conversation you have to have with people.
You know what? The segue here is it's good timing, because I wanted to talk to you about insurance as well. Mm-hmm. You know what? I go for a walk every morning to Tim Hortons, and it's a good way to get steps in early in the morning, right?
Yeah.
So I go to this Tim Hortons every morning, and I always see the same group of older guys sitting there, and they're chatting away, and it's really nice. You see this whole group. I went there this morning, and as I was going, I saw a fire truck. Oh, wow. And coming through the parking lot, and I was thinking, what the hell is this fire truck coming in here with his lights flashing? Yeah. He's looking like a Christmas tree. He needs a coffee that bad. Yeah, and he pulled up in front. And then as I went into the Tim Hortons, there was a guy lying on the ground. It was one of the guys in this group, I think, had a heart attack. And I heard one of his friends talking to somebody. He was just sitting there talking to me, and then he stopped and fell off his chair. And
wow.
And that's how fast it can happen, right? And those types of issues, those types of scenarios always make me think that, thank goodness for insurance. And when it comes to our industry, younger people buy houses, typically first-time home buyers, right? 30s, 40s. Yeah. So how do you look at insurance like MPP or creditor insurance? I mean, even though there are differences in the products, some are better than the others, but having insurance to begin with is better than not having it, right?
Yeah, no, I absolutely. Like, if you're a younger couple, and the first thing, like, you sit there with a couple is, can you afford this home without this other person's contribution to the home? Okay. If the answer is there is no friggin' way, then you need to be covered. It's as simple as that. It's almost like you look at your, if it's a gentleman, I mean, you look at the wife, and if it, in the case of a marital spouse and the child, and say, would you want to put them in a situation that something happens to you, forget about all the trauma associated with you gone, that they're actually going to have to uproot their life, and they're going to have to move, and they're going to and what do you, it's less than a case of beer, a week that you're spending down.
Yeah.
And I think, I think as you know, especially older mortgage professionals like us, when dealing with younger people, we almost have to shove it down their throat. Like, this is this important. And it's almost like, I don't want to leave knowing you guys aren't covered. And as mortgage professionals, and we've both been around a long time, if you do enough business, somebody's going to die on you. Mm-hmm. And I've had those phone calls in my previous job where, they called and, my lawyer wanted to call me to check to see if I was covered. And then I got to go dig through the files and make that uncomfortable phone call and say, yeah, our agent, I guess, didn't do a good enough job of selling it to you. Actually, I hated that so much, I passed that job on over to John Gabriel one time. Because it's just a horrible position. But we have this year duty of responsibility that we should not take lightly. Because you would hate to see a family have to move and uproot it, and children have to move in with other people and leave their community because you didn't spend time enough to sell it, or you're living in your own paradigm and you don't think it's important. And I think the most important thing is, like, and I used to always tell this to people, while you're under my watch, while you're under my care, you're going to be covered. Okay. If you talk to an insurance agent who are the professionals, who know the insurance business, they're licensed to do so. If they tell you otherwise, if they have a better recommendation for you to do, if you want to listen to what your professional insurance agent, by all means, go do that. But you're going to be covered today while you're under my watch.
Right.
And you can say later. And I've had people call me up and say, Joe, I got bad news. I'm thinking, oh, yeah, I got to cancel the insurance because I finally met up with my insurance agent. This is 8 after he moves in. So how do I cancel this insurance? Okay, but don't feel bad. You did everything you were supposed to. You got covered, and you're covered while you were there. You've taken some professional advice elsewhere. Fantastic. But under my watch, you're going to be covered. And I think
that's fantastic. That's a great way to do it, because you get tired of having those conversations with people, because, as you say, that you're in the industry long enough, somebody's going to pass away and be put in a situation. We teach the life insurance course as well, and I've been licensed as a life insurance agent, not actively selling life insurance, but to get the ins and outs of it. And of all the life insurance agents I talk to, I tell you that the life-changing moment in their careers, when you're a life insurance agent, you've been around a little while, you get to a point where one of your clients passes away, right? And you have to take that check to the survivors. And out of all the life insurance agents that I talk to, they all tell me that is a life-changing moment for them when they really get the gravity of what they do for a living.
Absolutely. And, we've all heard the excuses, and I almost have a rebuttal for everyone. When somebody says, I have too much insurance. Okay. And so we'll talk to an insurance agent who's had to deliver a check, and that person entering the door says, oh, no, I don't need that. I have too much. Please take that back. It's never going to happen. You never know, first of all, right? And I would always tell my clients when they say, I have already too much insurance, I would say, you know what? I don't know what too much insurance is because I'm not an insurance agent. Okay. Yeah. I don't know what you have. And honestly, I don't really want to understand what you have. Right. All I know is you just got a new $400,000 debt that you didn't have yesterday. That's got to be insured. Let's insure that now. If you talk to your insurance agent and he agrees you have too much, cancel it.
Yeah.
But your insurance agent did not know about this $400,000 debt that I'm getting you to sign a piece of paper on right now. And that mortgage has got to be insured, right?
It's always a challenge, right? When you're talking to a client and they say, you know what, I need to talk to my insurance agent. So you can talk to your insurance agent, but what typically happens is that if they don't do what's in their best interest in the moment, it's going to be put on the back burner, and then they may never talk to their insurance agent until the insurance agent calls them on their birthday and says, hey, how's everything going? Oh, 9 months ago, I bought a house and I got a mortgage. Oh, we should get together and talk about that. Sure, that sounds like a good idea, but I've had the mortgage for 9 months. I haven't died yet, so it's not on my active to-do list. They put things off, right?
Well, exactly. And I've had 2 people pass away, people that declined. One was in a motorcycle accident on the expressway in Kitchener, right? Before closing, he died. And the other one died maybe 3 or 4 months after in a construction accident in Cambridge. So, stuff happens.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how soon it does happen. And apparently, from MPP, most claims happen, I believe, within the first 7 years. And and the other one, of course, is disability. We don't spend enough time with disability. We got a greater chance of being disabled than dying.
Yeah.
And I like MPP. Since you had mentioned that, I mean, they're one of the biggest in Canada. Great reputation. I mean, I've had some goofy stuff. I remember a quick story. An agent of mine in Sarnia, a client died with him like a month after. I said, "You sell him insurance?" I go, "Yeah, I did, but I got a problem here. I never sent the forms to MPP." So I'm like, okay, this could be a problem. No, it wasn't a problem. They sent it to MPP. We checked the dates, and the check was there. Everything was there. He was covered. So
That's
I mean,
fantastic.
yeah, exactly. Because I mean, they take paying claims really, really serious. Obviously,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, but
MPP's a great company.
Yeah, no, they really are. They really are. In fact, Manulife, they work like they're great partners of us, to say the least. It works really well.
And it's all better than creditor insurance that you get at the bank, which we could go on about, I'm sure.
Yeah. Just the whole portability feature is enough to kill it. And I think the banks do a great job doing it because it's an implied sale. Here's your mortgage, here's your insurance, check them both, blah, blah, blah. Even the lawyers in a lot of cases do a better job than we do selling credit life insurance because they put the piece of paper in front of them and say, here's your insurance, blah, blah, blah. And people kind of look and scroll, go, okay, let me sign it. So,
I know some do, here's your insured payment.
Yeah, exactly. Here's your insured payment. So if somebody wants to do better at selling credit life insurance, there's all kinds of people willing to help and train them and support them, show them how to do it, right?
And that goes back to your point about knowing your craft well, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Talk about it early in the process. I mean, there's ways to do it that is better. And it's not like, first of all, obviously we understand we make good money on it, but I'd be nervous as hell if I'm a practicing mortgage agent now and I got all these mortgages out there that I didn't do enough of a proper job and effort to sell them credit life insurance.
Yeah.
Like that, to me, I don't know how some of these people sleep at night knowing I did 1,000 mortgages last year and only 4 of them are insured. Boy, that's a scary place to be.
It sure is. You almost think that you want to go back to your whole database and start talking to people about, let me put you in touch with somebody who can talk to you about your insurance.
I think it's so important. Like, apologize first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
That means I didn't do a good enough job, right? Own it. And then try to make sure that they got some coverage or they're doing something about it, either with you or somebody else. But you got to get them on. And then make sure you do it as much as you can. And even if you there's always going to be people that you're just not going to be able to convince, right? But boy, make sure you did the best you could, documented the best you could. And then, but I think sometimes we talk people out of it. Oh, yeah, go talk to your insurance agent. And I always believe the less you know about insurance in general, the better you're able to sell credit life insurance. It's a decreasing term policy. Premiums level. You die, she gets the house. He dies, she gets the house. That's it. The beneficiary. Yeah. That's it. Nice, easy, clean, simple. Here's the premium. Cancel, down the road, and then go talk to your insurance agent.
No, it makes perfect sense. So let's switch gears for a bit. You have recruited a lot of agents in your career.
Yeah.
And I think we touched on this in the first half of our chat here, but I don't recall completely. So what when you're going and maybe recruiting a seasoned agent, there's obviously the easy metric would be how much volume do you do, but what else do you look for in somebody that might be, maybe they're a fit for the culture, maybe they're not? Like, what do you look for when you're thinking about, I want to go and try and recruit this person?
Okay. I think, and you look at this industry, how this industry was built, right? It was built by, a lot of cases, entrepreneurs as opposed to salespeople, right? So really that entrepreneurial spirit, the guy who's going to get up on his own and go to work and do what he's got to do, he's going to learn. The big thing is, I think I mentioned this before, you got to be fanatical about learning your business and learning your craft every single day. Like, if you want to set yourself apart from everybody else, know more than everybody else and do more than everybody else consistently. But I think it's really that entrepreneurial spirit, the people that just say, I don't want to just do mortgages. Or this is the way we find from bankers. Like, bankers are salespeople and they're great. They know their craft as far as credit process, all that stuff. I find the ones that do really good in the mortgage business where they take their business from being a salesperson. Okay, now I'm going to build and own a mortgage practice. Okay. Now I'm going to learn social media, learn marketing, learn the different lenders, learn different processes, learn different technologies. Now I'm going to have a business and really run a business now. Right? And the big thing, as I mentioned earlier, my business is now focused on the relationship I have with my referral partners and my past clients and future clients. No longer the transaction. The transaction is things that happen in that life of that wonderful relationship you create with your people, right? So I think once people come, so when I talk to them and I'm speaking to them, if they're like, I'm an idiot and you don't know what you're talking about, and then, it's not that everybody has to think the way I do. I just know successful people think of their business as being, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, right?
Right.
You gotta go work. Like you gotta go work. I remember there was a guy who was the number one Culligan water salesman in Halifax. Came to Kitchener, Ontario, didn't know a single soul, right? Had 3 young daughters at home. Wife wasn't working. He wanted to be in the mortgage business. Took the course, barely passed. Okay, because I remember he was a student of mine at the time, right? I think, oh my God. I think we paid him like 60, 70, 80,000 in the first 6 months of the business.
Really?
He didn't know a single soul in Kitchener. Okay. After 6, 7, 8 months, I told him, he comes to me and goes, where do I get business cards? We had already paid him $50,000, $60,000. You want to know where to get business cards? And I told him, well, it's on your online portal, where you can set up your website. He goes, oh, I got a website? Didn't even know I had a website. Now, not everybody's like that. But what he did, he went out there. And this is the guy who's not afraid to talk to people and knock on doors when you're the number one door-to-door person selling water software. He did the same thing with mortgages. Walked around, hi, I'm new to the neighborhood. I do mortgages. How are you? Anything I can do to help you with the mortgage? He just did that all day long. He wouldn't come home unless he had a deal or two. And he just went out there, just talked to people. How long have you been in the business? Oh, I've been like 2 weeks. You might be my second customer. He's such a likable, wonderful, kind, genuine person. And he talked about his family. That he just grabbed it. So he was great at building relationships, right?
Right.
So that's the other point. Be good at fostering relationships, right? And there's all kinds of people that will help you get a deal done. But if you're the face of your business, be that wonderful, personable relationship type building person. And I think that's, if I see somebody walk in that, they got that energy about them. Mm-hmm. If I have somebody walk in and go, well, do you have a book on CMHC? Like, how do I understand CMHC's guidelines? Like, who cares? You don't have a customer. What do you care about CMHC guidelines?
Yeah.
Like, do that at 9:00 at night when you're by yourself, then go read. No, during the day, you're out meeting, talking to people. Right. In an office to learn CMHC's guidelines, right? So, I mean, I think that, I know that's very simplistic, but that's what I think. Somebody who, they got to have the drive. They got to be personable. Now, there's all kinds of places in our industry for people that like underwriting and like doing deals, and they can do a lot of money and that kind of. Absolutely, right? And thank God for those people. But like I always say, if I ever got back into doing brokering again, in my later years, just for something to do, I hope I never have to talk to an underwriter the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's not my skill set. That's not the highest use of my time. It's going out there, meeting people, building relationships.
And you got to do what you like, right? I mean, there are phenomenal people out there who are underwriters, great people, and that's what they love to do. They love to do that part of the business. And there's a challenge between one person that has to wear 2 hats and wear them well. Right. Yeah. Going out and generating business and then coming back and putting on the underwriter hat and doing that part of the job well. It's a definite challenge.
Yeah. And I say this sincerely, where I'm not smart enough to be an underwriter and understand all this stuff and put the package the deals together. No, it's too much work and too much mind space for me. Right. For other people, they just love that stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm not smart enough to do all that stuff anymore. I'd rather just sell clients.
Well, you're smart enough to have trailblazed a fantastic career. So what's in the future for you? What are you enjoying doing? I'm not going to try to nail you down on business or anything like that, but like what's going on with Joe outside of business? Yeah.
Okay. Well, like as far as I love doing what I'm doing. I love working with the people here. I can't even overemphasize that. And I'm in a position where I just kind of help people grow. I help people either come into the business or help them grow, or help my sales team attract people and close on people and be that older voice in the conversation. Oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's done it before. I love doing that stuff. Like if I could be on phone calls all day long talking about people, about entering the business or moving to our organization and showing the value that we have, I do that 12 hours a day. Like I get.
But what else do you like to do? Like do you like to fish? Do you like to?
Yeah. So that's kind of like my work stuff.
Yeah.
I love working on stuff and building stuff like houses and garages and renovations, and like I've always have 2 or 3 projects on the go. We're doing my brother's kitchen, and it's like I say, if you can't be handsome, at least be handy. You know what I mean? So I am like I am like super handy.
You're fishing for a compliment here. I feel almost the need to say, well, hey, you're both.
Yeah, that's my partner, Lucy, who says you're both. But there is nothing that I can't. Like, I built a garage, me and 3 buddies. Like, we built a big 26 by 24 garage. I can do.
I saw the pictures of that. That was incredible.
Yeah, I did the wiring of my whole. Like, I wired a house, an old farmhouse of my friend's house north of Innisfil, from start to finish. Wire the whole house myself. Like, and I'm not a licensed electrician. I wired the whole house.
Still there. It hasn't burned down yet.
Yeah, no, exactly. We had the inspector come, and my buddy calls me up and goes, "Yeah, the inspector came today." And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "You won't believe it." What? He goes, "It passed." Like I was impressed that, because people don't know this, but in Ontario, you can do your own home. If you hire somebody, that person has to be licensed.
Right.
So we kind of said this was my home, or actually we said that he actually did it when I was the guy in the background doing the wire. Yeah, but I did wire the whole home. I'm building an addition to my cottage. Renovate it all. I've owned a bunch of rentals, so I've gone in there, renovated everything. There's nothing I can't do, from tiles to plumbing to electrical to all that stuff. I'm not a fan.
And that's what you like to do.
Yeah, and I'm never a fan of plumbing, because you made a mistake. It's usually 3 weeks later when you're in Vancouver and the basement floods. Right?
Yeah.
Electricity, you pretty much know right away when you messed up. It's just,
The bane of my existence has always been water. I've never been able to get seals tight, and I was thought, what, I forget it.
Yeah, water is the only thing that makes me nervous, but doing tiles and flooring and all that stuff. Yeah, so I think I like doing that. I like still dabbling in the private investing. I do some small private mortgages, that type of stuff. I still have my real estate properties that I manage that, and then I've got a vacant land that about, Joe, that we might do something with up in.
Yeah, we're gonna do something together on that. So don't tell anybody where it is.
Yeah, I won't tell anybody where it is, but there's so it's always that type of stuff I have going on. I finally got myself a pickup truck, so now I can really haul stuff around a little bit easier.
Do you have a piece of hay that you have sticking out of your mouth while you're driving it?
No. It's kind of cool. You show up at somebody's office wearing a suit, you got a dirty pickup truck, because you just load a bunch of garbage to the junk. But, yeah, so I think that's and I still I'm a guitar player. I still play around with my guitar. I got my grandson, so I'm on the boat. We're doing fishing and. Yeah, so that kind of stuff. Right? So I think
you have a really well balanced, full life outside of the business as well.
Yeah, I don't read as much as I used to, so I got to get back to reading a little bit more. That was going to be my thing to do this year, and I haven't really done as much reading as I like to. And I love
audiobooks.
Yeah, not really, to be quite honest. I follow Darren Daly, so I'm doing Darren Daly every morning. Yeah. But I have 2 or 3 books on the go at all times, but it's not as much as I used to as far as knocking these books off. So
do you spend a lot of time in the car?
Enough, yeah. So I got to get back on the auto. Not like the old days when I used to, go Toronto to Cambridge. But and I'm still quite a bit in the car, just not as much. Yeah, I got to get doing that.
One of the challenges, I listen to audiobooks a lot, but one of the challenges I have is that I get the Audible version and then I get the hard copy, because there are times when, I want to read, but I can't remember where I'm at. I've listened to the Audible one and now try to find a page number. It's impossible in the book. So I end up rereading parts, and it makes it really kind of laborious. But, I've found that, I really enjoy the audiobooks, although I tend to have the problem of finishing them. That's a problem when you listen to something on audio. I think, like in the car, you get away from it. And
do you listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff?
Yeah, I listen to some. I used to listen a lot to Radio Lab.
Okay.
If you have a chance to check that out, these guys do topics that are just completely outside of what you would think. Like Kane was telling me about one that he just listened to on Radio Lab about how you determine what weight is. Like, what is a kilogram? How did they come up with a yard?
Okay.
Yeah, he said, you know what, they had this thing that they measured everything else against, a kilogram, and it was like in a vault. Yes. Because that was like the standard that everything else had to be weighed against to be, that's what a kilogram is. Yeah, and then they were getting into atoms and all kinds of science stuff. But it's a really fascinating thing. I listen to Joe Rogan every now and then.
Yeah, well, I do this sometimes, and I'm almost embarrassed, like these Facebook reels. like a rabbit hole. Late at night, it's like 10 o'clock. You start watching some, and things start showing up that you're interested in, right? So then you just keep on watching. It's like 11:30. It's like, okay, I can't believe I just wasted an hour doing this.
I know, the time goes by so fast, and before you know it, you're sleep deprived.
Yeah, but it's like, I find like the scientific stuff really informative. There's a couple of guys that are like, when you talk about outer space and, the speed of light, like, I feel like I think it's entertaining, to understand it. But yeah, that's, I don't ride the motorcycle anymore like I used to. You still ride your bike? Or?
No,
no,
no, you know what? It's I think for the same reason you did, although you have more important stories to tell. But I just decided it wasn't worth the risk anymore.
Yeah, and I did the ride.
You, right?
Yeah, exactly. I did as you know, did the ride across Canada. Vancouver to St. John's. And we had some scary moments and stuff, but I think it's the same thing. And it's just too hard to ride around Mississauga, Oakville, Toronto. Like it's just
you don't want to be stuck in traffic all for your ride. It's like getting out there. It'd be like going ice skating and having the rink just packed, and you're just like inching along.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to fly. You want to float. You want to.
And just like it's getting a little scary out there. But I did a lot of years and I survived it. So, I drive some like across Canada through some amazing weather. You can only imagine like some of the stuff. I remember my daughter coming home, and I got to home, and my daughter said, "So did you see any moose?" And I said, "No, I saw Jesus twice, but I didn't see any moose." Because there was a couple of times. It was a little scary.
Well, my friend, you know what? On that, seeing Jesus, I think that's a good place to wrap up. That's a high note. Well, it could have been a low note, but it was a high note.
It was a high note.
So listen, man, I love you. Thank you so much for spending the time. I know combined here, it's been over an hour, and we could, keep yakking for a lot longer. So I look forward to getting you back on again and see where things are going with you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. This was a lot of fun, Joe. You know how much I love you as well, too. So this is great. And let's do some shit together.
Absolutely.
All right,
my friend.
Okay. Thank you, Joe.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
Thanks for tuning in to the $1 Billion Podcast. Make sure to subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
For more in-depth entrepreneurial insights, follow us on social media. And for more info on the show, go to billiondollarpodcast.com.
See you next time.